Badass of the Week is an iHeartRadio podcast produced by High Five Content. January 1593, the Battle of Nong Sarai. The largest army the Taungoo Empire has ever fielded, led personally by their crown prince, has invaded Thailand with the hopes of crushing them once and for all. The Thai warriors have mounted a valiant defense of their homeland, but are badly outnumbered. The battle is beginning to turn against them. The Thai king, Naresuan, sits on the back of a massive armored war elephant. He knows he must do something now, or his people will once again be subjugated by the brutal Taungoo regime. Across the battlefield, Naresuan sees the crown prince of the Taungoo, Ming Swa, a man that Naresuan has been feuding with since they were both children. The crown prince of Taungoo is also seated on a massive armored war elephant. And as they glare at each other, old rivalries boil over. There's only one thing left to do. Soldiers from both sides, all across the battlefield, stop fighting and watch in awe as the two rulers fasten their gilded helmets, grip their razor-sharp glaives, and charge their elephants towards each other. Hello, and welcome back to Badass of the Week. My name is Ben Thompson, and I am here with my co-host, Pat Larish, Dr. Pat Larish. Pat, it is January 16th when this episode is being released, which is very close to a day that is very special to me and to all of the people of Thailand. It is Elephant Duel Day.
Elephant Duel Day.
Yes.
So Elephant Duel Day, like what, two elephants get fancy swords and go up against one another on guard?
They duel each other. No. It's about a very famous battle from history where two people fought each other while mounted on elephants.
Okay.
So that is a school children in Thailand get off school that day because Elephant Duel Day.
Wow. I
think it's also Royal Armed Forces Day. I think it's also like Thai Independence Day in general. I think it's a actually big holiday that celebrates several components of Thai history and military history, and the rich and long history of those people. But I have seen it written as Elephant Duel Day, and that just makes me happy.
The image that stays in your head is two people on elephants duking it out,
hitting each other with really, really long spears, because it's really hard to ride up next to a guy on an elephant. And you need a long spear to stab the other guy from far away while the elephants are banging their heads together.
Yes.
So we were, in preparation for the celebration of Elephant Duel Day, we were trying to look up how such a thing is celebrated in Thailand.
Parades. Lots of parades.
Yeah. That was what I found as well.
Lots of parades. Yeah. Yeah. Parades, more parades, really big parades. Really big parades.
Yeah. Every kind of parade you could think of. The Mardi Gras one where people are dancing down the street and like handing out candy. There's the ones like a Chinese New Year kind of one where it's like, these big ornate like floats and decorations and things. There's military parades where just the army goes down the street like something you'd see in the Soviet Union. There's all kinds of like different styles of parades that happen around, I imagine, around all of Thailand during Elephant Duel Day.
You got to get your steps in, and this is a way to do it.
Did you know that my book was translated into Thai?
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, Badass 1 was translated into Spanish. I think we've talked about that before, but book 3 was translated into Thai. Those are the only two languages my book has been translated into, but it's called, and we are going to apologize ahead of time for our attempts to pronounce the Thai language. It is called Sud Yadkantai Sunai Prat Waitizar, which means the best battles in history. And it was translated by someone named Sofafren Ratananai. And it was published in 2014. I never met Sofafren, and the script is is a script that I don't read. So I purchased several copies of the book. It is book 3, but it is in this like fluorescent hot pink cover that is great. Ooh. And it's got everything is in the Thai script though, so I can't read any of it. So I can't attest to the translation quality, but I did look it up on WorldCat, and it is in the Royal Thai Library in Bangkok, which
there you go.
I just feel really happy about that. I had to order a bunch of copies of it, and it was it was way more expensive to ship it to me than it was to buy the copies. But several of them sit proudly on my shelf in my living room.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Thailand?
No, never.
Yeah, nor I.
I hope they will let me in after this episode, but
yeah, well,
I would love to go. My wife went, and she loved it. She thought it was amazing. She went several different cities there a couple of years ago, and she thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I've never been, but
yeah, she's been.
Shout out to all of our Thai listeners.
Yeah, she's been advocating heavily for us to go visit, and I would love to go do that. I think it'd be amazing. But we're not talking about book 3, although we are talking about one of the best battles in history. I guess this all kind of ties together. But what we are going to talk about is an elephant duel, Pat, which makes me very happy, especially because there's a whole day for it.
There is, yes. Yeah. And the elephant duel itself is unique to Thailand. But elephants, as you know, Ben, have been used in warfare throughout history. We've got elephants in India. Chandragupta used them. Supposedly he had 9,000 elephants in his army.
That's a lot of elephants.
In Carthage, there's a lot of elephants.
That might be more elephants than exist on Earth right now.
Oh, dear.
Right? That's kind of depressing.
Now you're going to make me sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what if the elephants start fighting back? I mean, then...
That's why we had to stop having elephant duels. You can't let them know how we fight.
Yeah. And in North Africa, in Carthage, Hannibal has a bunch of elephants. And yes, famously, he tries to cross the Alps with them. He kind of succeeds, but a lot of the elephants don't make it. R.I.P. elephants.
Yeah, they're not high altitude, sub-zero temperatures kinds of creatures.
No. You don't imagine elephants with Santa Claus at the North Pole.
There are some good pictures of him. So I've seen some illustrations, and I'm sure they were done way, way, way later of him, of I guess engravings of Hannibal with elephants on rafts, pushing them across rivers in northern Italy. But my understanding of the reality of the story is that very, very few of them survived the journey and were never used in any meaningful capacity in Italy.
Yeah. He did use them in a meaningful capacity at the Battle of Zama, which is in modern-day Tunisia. The Romans were invading Carthage, and the Romans, the armies of Scipio, made so much noise that the elephants got scared and ran back through their own lines. To be fair, if I saw the Roman army coming at me, I would run away too. But
yeah, and Scipio's guys were pretty mad too, because they were all veterans of Cannae, and they were super upset about being the few survivors of these legions being annihilated. And Hannibal had tried so hard to get his elephants on the field, and as soon as he got them on the field, the Romans just screamed and yelled, and they ran away and just plowed through their own lines, and that was the deciding moment of the battle.
Yeah. So you've got elephants, you've got war elephants. Elsewhere in Africa, in Nubia, we know from inscriptions that they did have war elephants. I'm not sure how they used them, but it is possible that the Kandake Amanarainus, whom we talked about in an earlier episode, possibly used elephants when she went to battle. The Persians had elephants at the Battle of Gaugamela, where Darius is going up against Alexander. He had 15 war elephants to use against Alexander, and 15 doesn't sound like very much when you're comparing it to the 9,000 of Chandragupta.
But 15 elephants charging at you with dudes on the back with bows and arrows and spears, that's scary. I would not I would run away if that was what was confronting me.
Yes. Any number greater than 0 would be intimidating to me.
It's interesting because Teddy Roosevelt, who we've also talked about, he did a lot of hunting in Africa. And one thing that he said was, he was like, oh, rhinos are not scary. Rhinos, they charge, but they always pull off at the last minute. Like a rhino, unless you're like really trying to mess with them, they'll run away. They're not going to try to fight you. He says the scariest creature that he encountered, including lions in Africa, was elephants, because they're extremely territorial and they would charge and they would they wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
Like if they charged, they were committed. Yeah. And so Teddy Roosevelt said it was the scariest creature that he ever encountered when he was on safari in Africa. I was doing a little bit of reading up on this in the last couple of days, and they were like, after guns were invented, like a musket wouldn't bring down an elephant, but a cannon could. And I was like, I don't like reading about this, but I did see some interesting pictures. Saw an interesting picture of in North Africa, the British 8th Army is down there fighting Rommel in World War II, and they have an elephant. There's a photograph of an elephant pulling a Spitfire airplane along the runway. And apparently, I don't know if this is true, but I read something that said that in the current manuals that you hand out, that like American Special Forces get, the Green Berets, an elephant is listed under potential pack animals. Although there's a asterisk there, and it says this is an endangered species, and we encourage you not to do this if you have any other options.
Okay, I'm glad that asterisk is there. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
It's going to be a bad look for us if.
Yes, yeah.
But if you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Tactical elephants. Yeah. But elephants are just cool, and good old Professor J.R.R. Tolkien thinks they're cool too, and he works them into the Lord of the Rings. He's got these oliphants, or mumakil, which are fantasy version of elephants,
Yeah. I think Legolas surfed one. It's one of the many things that Legolas surfed in his career.
Yeah. I'm sure someone somewhere has done like a GIF or something of like all of the scenes where Legolas surfs. Now, we're not talking about people who are swinging swords at elephants' feet. We're actually talking about people who are on top of elephants in the real world, not fantasy world.
Yes, this is not an epic mount in World of Warcraft. This is King Naresuan the Great, the most famous war hero in the history of Thailand, the greatest king of their antiquity. And he won freedom for his people by fighting off a foreign invasion and battling a tyrannical enemy ruler in a sword fight or a spear fight on the back of 2 rampaging elephants. And that's what Elephant Duel Day is all about. And that's what we are going to be talking about after this break. The tale of the elephant duel begins in the mid-1560s when the king of the neighboring Taungoo Empire, the Taungoo Empire is in present-day Myanmar, but this king, he unifies the various regions of Burma, present-day Myanmar. He unifies the regions, and he declares himself conqueror of the 10 directions.
Which is not to be confused with One Direction, the boy band.
Right, or a conqueror of 4 directions. 10 directions is much better.
Yeah. Let's give him full credit here. All 10 directions.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
He was a very Buddhist leader, and there is some concept in Buddhism of like the benevolent dictator, basically what we would call in the Western world a benevolent dictator. And he believed he was going to be that guy for all of Southeast Asia.
King?
Yes. And he was going to conquer in 10 directions from his capital. And he was very successful in most of this. He also collects white elephants, which is a very sacred creature in Buddhism at this time.
White elephant, which is in origin a venerated creature and symbol in Buddhism in Thailand in the 16th century.
And that conqueror of 10 directions, he demands 2 white elephants from the king of Ayutthaya, which is present-day Thailand. It is a large kingdom that encompasses Bangkok and several other provinces of Thailand. The king of Ayutthaya, he doesn't have 2 white elephants to give him. And because they're extremely rare, actually. And he doesn't want to give these up. And also, this is almost certainly a complete pretense to war for absolutely no reason, because this guy's the conqueror of 10 directions, and he's already conquered 9 of them, and we got to go 10 directions now. Okay.
Yeah. Like if I say, Ben, you got to give me like 5 unicorns by Friday.
Right. Oh, or we're going to go to war.
It's like chances are we're going to go to war.
This is like a Jengar kind of request, right? This strikes me as very Jengar, you know?
Yeah.
So, of course, the king of Ayodhya refuses. Burma invades Thailand, defeats the Thai army, kills the king, plunders the capital, conquers their country, sells half their population into slavery, and then rides back to Burma with a 9-year-old boy named Prince Naret and his younger brother, Ika Tatsarat. These 2 guys are royal hostages, and they are brought back to Burma. Remember the benevolent dictatorship thing? Yeah, this is this is benevolent dictatorship in action.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure hostages who were treated very well and given dessert every day, but...
Well, sort of. So the king of Ayodhya, he is he's killed in battle, or dies during this invasion for some reason. And his successor is captured by the king of Burma and dies while being transported back to the Burmese capital. And Prince Naret is a grandson of the rightful king, but he's also the son of the guy that the Burmese king installed to rule Ayodhya as a vassal state. So Burma he's conquered his 10th direction. He takes Thailand. I'm going to start saying Thailand instead of Ayodhya, because I'm not entirely certain I'm pronouncing Ayodhya correctly. He conquers Thailand. He wipes out their army. He enslaves their population, and he puts a puppet government in place. Hey, you're sort of related to the former king. You're king now, but I'm just going to take your 2 sons back to Burma with me. I'll treat them really nice, but anything bad happens, and you're probably never gonna see your kids again.
Oof. Okay. Tricky situation.
Yeah.
High stakes, and
kind of Euron Greyjoy from Game of Thrones when he was a hostage of the Starks.
Yeah. From a creature comfort perspective, probably getting a really good education from the best tutors in all sorts of cool stuff. Getting dessert. I don't know why I'm just really interested in dessert right now, but
we're recording late at night.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. And on the other hand, they're getting dessert in a gilded cage.
Yes. Gilded cage is a great way to explain this. And so the Thai prince, Prince Naret, he is being raised in the court of the Burmese king. You keep your enemies closer, right? And he's got a little rival. He's only 9 or 10, and he's being trained by, like you said, the best tutors. He's being trained in war, all of this stuff. But he's being raised with a guy who's a couple years younger than him, 2 or 3 years younger than him. His name is Naresuan. He is the grandson of the current king, but he's the heir. He is the future heir to the throne, and he is very arrogant about how much he's going to be the heir to the throne. He's kind of he's the Draco Malfoy in this story. to
Harry Potter. Naret is Harry Potter. Yeah. So anyway, and we see the situation in fiction, but the reason it's such a compelling trope in fiction is that we see this in history also. If you remember the story of Vlad the Impaler and Mehmet the Conqueror, we've got this whole thing of, raising kids from opposing factions in the same court, and I don't know, hoping they become BFFs and also holding one as hostage, nice kid you've got there. Would be a shame if anything happened to them.
Exactly right. He's a hostage. He's leverage against your new vassal king, who's probably pretty happy to be the king and would be happy to stay there. But you do have leverage against this guy now. And at the other time, you are indoctrinating the son into your ways so that when he goes back to Thailand to inherit the throne, he's got good friends in the Burmese side. But that's not what happens with Naresuan and Prince Naret.
Yeah. friendship is tricky, especially when you're like age 9 or 10 or a few years older, you know?
Yeah, they're rivals, and they're studying military tactics from the best generals. They're learning martial arts. They're learning hand-to-hand fighting. The Prince Naret will become King Naresuan, and King Naresuan is credited by some people as inventing Muay Thai kickboxing. And so using generally techniques he started to learn here while he was imprisoned in Burma.
Like the thing that you go to the gym on Thursdays to learn.
Right. Like you see, it's some of the Ultimate Fighting guys, like that's the style that they learn, right? It's a lot of like kicks to the leg, kicks to the lower leg, and knee strikes, elbow strikes, that kind of thing. If you've ever seen any of Tony Jaa's movies, he is Thai and he uses that fighting style. And he actually portrays Naresuan in a movie at one point. He sets his legs on fire and he does a flying kick. He knee strikes a guy while his legs are on fire. It's pretty awesome. I'm not sure if King Naresuan did that in history. It's not mentioned in the original Thai texts, but...
I'm still processing the mental image.
We can't say it didn't happen with certainty.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what ends up happening is Naresuan grows up, and Prince Naret grows up, and the King of Burma, and he's kind of better than Ming Yiswa at all of this stuff, and that's making the King.
And
of
not
Burma,
just because he was a few years older, but like it's pretty clear that even when you calibrate for the difference in ages.
Right. And like,
he's better at this.
You have to also assume that like Ming Yiswa was getting a 20% better version of the education and the nutrition and the training and the private, the personal trainer or whatever. Like all of it was probably a little better than what they were giving to Prince Naret, but Prince Naret was still winning. So he's a prisoner for 7 years there. And when he's 16, he ends up being sent back to Thailand in exchange for his older sister. Her name is Supan Ganlia, and she comes to Burma to be what is referred to as a, quote, minor wife, whatever that means. And Prince Naret is returned to Thailand along with his younger brother. And he becomes the crown prince of Thailand, who is going to succeed his father. Whether they got annoyed with Prince Naret or whether they just decided, okay, time's up, like we've got to give him back. They're in some of the Thai versions, the princess Supan Ganlia, she really advocates for this in order to like bring her brother home because he's the only hope for Thai independence. She's kind of portrayed in Thai history as like this great liberator who like made this huge sacrifice to save her people. She figures, okay, what options are available to her? Okay, she's going to be this minor wife in the harem. How can she leverage this position that she finds herself in? Yeah. Well, she wasn't. So in the Thai versions of this, she volunteers to be a minor wife in exchange for Prince Naret to return to Thailand. So kind of that's the sacrifice she makes, is like, take me, not him. He's going to save the people or whatever. I
would love to read her diaries.
Yeah. I think she is really interesting. She has kind of like achieved this level of basically like minor deification in Thailand. They still have a royal family there and they take it very seriously. And she kind of has this position of prominence in this kind of pantheon of great rulers of Thailand because of what she does here to kind of bring the guy who liberated Thailand back to do the thing he was going to do.
Yeah. Setting a very high bar for big sisters everywhere, I suppose, somehow,
right.
Anyway, okay. So Naresuan gets back to Thailand, and I'm wondering from the point of view of Myanmar, was this wise from their point of view? Like, did they think this through?
Well, at this point, like, even as the crown prince, like, he's good, but I believe that he was probably, like, he wasn't, like, Vlad the Impaler was fighting Mehmet and angry and getting in trouble and being disciplined and pissed off and all of this stuff, right? And I don't get the impression that Prince Naret was quite like that. they sent him off. He was 16. Okay, it's time to be trained as the king of Thailand. You're going to study under your dad, who's been a good vassal to us for the last 7 years.
Okay, yeah. So they think he's going to be a good doobie. He's going to be a team player.
Right. And also his kingdom and his kingdom's army is crippled, and they're not really considered a threat to Myanmar, or I should say to the Taungoo Empire. And so you go and you do this. He's a great military mind. He's a great fighter. He's a great warrior. He understands tactics and stuff. So what the king of Burma decides is that I'm going to leverage this guy to lead some armies against my enemies, and maybe I can conquer 11 directions. So
hey,
he goes back. He becomes the crown prince. That's where he assumes the name Naresuan. That's where that name first appears, is when he becomes the crown prince. But he's still a vassal state of Burma or Myanmar, and now they decide, we're gonna conquer Cambodia. We're gonna fight the Khmer in Cambodia, and hey, we need
directions 11, 12, 13, 14,
right,
whatever.
We're just continue going in that 10th direction. Okay, let's keep heading that direction. Let's see what else we can get. So Naresuan, he's known as the Black Prince because he kind of had this gloomy, he kind of was the warrior, almost like a gloomy personality.
Okay, so it's like a personality label.
Yeah, his brother. Okay, yeah, I gotta get the name again. Yeah, his brother Ikatatsurat is the White Prince, and he's the one who he will eventually become king and have this period of prosperity and peace. And Naresuan is living through a time of war. So I don't know if that's where it comes from or whatever is happening here, but that's my understanding of it.
Okay.
So Myanmar and Thailand, they are going to invade Cambodia. And I'm using the modern terms here, but this is the idea.
So we can find it on a map.
Right, exactly. So you can picture where this looks like in the world. And Naresuan is leading these armies, and he is crushing it. He's doing awesome. He's leading the Thai armies. Sometimes he's leading these coalition forces, and he's crushing it. He is here, and he's coming up. And he's coming up with some interesting strategies and tactics. There's one time where there was this mountain castle that the Khmer had. It was on this sheer cliff face that overlooked a river. And the crown prince, our buddy Mingi Swa, he is trying to just bulldoze his way through the front door with this massive army. He outnumbers the Khmer, and he's going to attack straight out the front door, but they're in this heavily defensive position, and they're just massacring. They're just driving him back every time. So Naresuan takes his guys and climbs the cliff face at night and sneaks into the city, and then attacks them.
He climbs the cliff face.
Yes. According to the mythology surrounding this guy, he personally is setting the lines, he's leading the climbing it, setting the climbing rope for everybody to follow him up. And they, the Thai army gets in there, and they take this town while everybody's still asleep, open the gates for the Burmese army to come in. We win. But there's also there's that Burmese king being my kid is just not winning. He's not getting the glory that I think he should deserve. I keep putting him in these positions to get glory, and he keeps being shown up by this Naresuan guy,
his quote unquote former foster brother.
Right, and they must hate each other. They have to, right, or at least have a very healthy rivalry.
I mean, that's kind of where the narrative is leading us, right?
Yes, that's where we're going. And so Naresuan, he wins some battles against the Khmer. He catches smallpox, and he goes back to Bangkok, which is where his castle. He gets smallpox, and he goes back to Bangkok, which is where his palace is. And when he gets back to Bangkok, he finds out that the city is under siege by the entirety of the Cambodian Navy. And nobody had told him. And he was really annoyed that the Burmese would have allowed that to happen without even mentioning it to him, because he's thought he was a commander. He's the ruler of this region, and his capital's under attack. And what's happening here?
You'd think he would be entitled to get memos.
Yes, right. I should have gotten this report, right? He's annoyed. But he's able to defeat the Navy, the Khmer Navy. He lures them into a trap. He draws them up a river and then is able to kind of cut off their retreat and drive them off and defeat them. They do
snazzy.
They do destroy a lot of territory in Thailand. They do make off with some people and stuff, but it could have been way worse if it wasn't for him leading the defense while half dead from smallpox. So in 1584, everything kind of comes to a head. Naresuan's upset, Ming Swa's upset, and the King of Burma is upset. And
instead of going to like group therapy,
they try to have Naresuan assassinated by Ming Swa. He's in charge of performing the assassination on Naresuan while he is like while he's in Burma. Like they call him into Burma, so he's in enemy territory. He's seeing the King of Burma.
Like this, so this is like a diplomatic invitation, or at least it looks like a diplomatic invitation or something, or
sure, or just
or
where your bosses come here, get over here, right?
Okay,
yeah.
But that's true. Yeah, because he is working for him. Yeah. Call
back here, and now we're gonna assassinate you.
But
once again, Naresuan shows up Ming Swa. He somehow finds out about the plot, thwarts the ambush, defeats a couple of the assassins in the process, flees across Burma, and gets across the river into Thailand. Ming Swa shows up with a big army on the other side of the river, and according to the story, King Naresuan grabs a musket that he had traded with the Portuguese. This is one of these weird things with these stories where you keep thinking about everybody's sword fighting and fighting with spears and fighting on elephants, but guns exist in 1584. And he had traded for a couple. They had a couple guns from the Portuguese, and he took the rifle. Like the enemy army is on the other side of the river. He's on the Thailand side of the river, and the enemy general is on the other side, like yelling at him. And King Naresuan pulls this musket and shoots the commander of the Burmese army dead. Boop. Apparently, is what we've talked about with Ataturk. This musket is apparently on display in a museum in Thailand somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So first sniper rifle kill in Thai history, I guess. And then he gets back to his capital. And when he's back to his capital, it's like, all right, there's no coming back from this. So he declares Thai independence in 1584. There's a ceremony where he calls all of the priests around and he pours water out of a bottle onto the ground. And that is symbolic of declaring independence.
Yep. Every time I spill a beverage on the ground, I'm declaring independence.
Yeah, you're pouring one out for all of your...
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to this. I don't understand the religious component of it, but there are statues of him in Thailand pouring water out of a bottle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he did it in a very elegant way, as opposed to me, where I just knock it off of the table. And
he did it on purpose, which is I hope different from the way you do it.
Sometimes having water or soil is just symbolic of your country or your people, and
it was effective. People loved it.
It was effective. Yeah.
There's still statues being done of him today doing it. So whatever the significance was, he declares independence. And the people of present day Thailand, even beyond the borders of the kingdom that he was the king of, they all decide, like, we're team Naresuan. We're done with Myanmar. We're done with this Taungoo Empire. We're done with Ming Swa and his dads and all of this stuff. And so they kind of flock to the banner of Naresuan and the Thai people. They're all starting to unite, and not through military conquest, but through like being excited about fighting for their freedom against this conqueror of 10 directions. How do you think the conqueror of 10 directions took this news?
I'm guessing not well.
That you were the conqueror of like 12, but now you're the conqueror of like 7. How do you feel about that?
Cranky. But hurt.
Cranky is right. He personally leads 3 invasions of Thailand with the Burmese army, which at the time is the most powerful.
Wait, say that again?
He leads
what?
3 different invasions of Thailand. Yes. with
Okay.
the army of Myanmar, which is the biggest army in Southeast Asia at the time. They far beyond the borders of the current country. They have a lot of resources to pull on. They attacked Thailand 3 different times with the king leading at the front, and they're unable to take it because King Naresuan, he's got the entire Burmese military tactical manual committed to memory. And
of course,
better at
he was a good student.
Yes, he's just better at this than you guys are. And he's defending his homeland, which has a morale benefit and a strategic benefit. Defense is always easier, and you've got less guys, but he can plant ambushes and he can do all of these things, right?
Knows it like the back of his hand.
Yep. And when the Conqueror of 10 Directions does not reconquer the 10th direction again, he decides, you know what? This is actually, I didn't even want to conquer that anyway, because this is a job that's better left to my son Ming Yiswa. This will be the glory that he will finally defeat Prince Naresuan and conquer Thailand again. And that will be like the perfect segue into him being the king that succeeds me. Ming Yiswa attacks and he loses. And he attacks again. A second invasion.
A second invasion. Okay.
Yes. And, you know, it's becoming evident, at least to the people who write these stories, that defeating 5 invasions through military genius alone isn't going to be enough for Thailand to win its independence. That is going to require something more epic, something involving elephants and dueling on elephants. And that is where this battle takes place. It is at a place called Nong Sarai, and it happens in January of 1593. And the ultimate battle for Thai independence is going to be settled by Prince Naresuan versus Ming Yiswa on elephant back in the middle of a raging battle with the futures of both of their countries hanging in the balance.
No pressure.
Yeah. And that is what we're going to talk about after this commercial break. The Battle of Nong Sarai began when the largest Myanmar invasion force ever assembled, led personally by Crown Prince Ming Yiswa, moved through a narrow mountain pass into Thailand called Three Pagodas Pass, which I love. It's a very narrow entryway. They have a very big army. They're moving through and they encounter this small contingent of Thai troops who see them, fire a little volley of arrows and run away. Ming Yiswa, military genius that he was, just has his entire army run really fast through that pass to catch these guys before they can warn the rest of the Thai army. And
okay, that's a tactic.
That's a tactic. And how does Dr. Pat Larish, military genius, rate this?
I've never billed myself as a military genius, but something tells me that this is maybe a little hasty.
It's a little hasty. Yeah, he runs directly into a trap because.
Oh no!
He runs directly into a trap because King Naresuan has guys set up on the edges. He's got guys set up everywhere. Just leads him right into this, just full headlong into this ambush. It's Thermopylae, but it's also like the Mongol tactics. It's every military genius on earth combined into one attack. Should have known better. The Mongols are 300 years before this. Thermopylae is 1,200 years before this. Yeah. You should have known better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1,500 years before this, I guess, for Thermopylae, because the BC always messes me up.
Yeah. Math. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, but I guess if we want like a takeaway, like the more you know, when you've got a lot of people going into a very narrow pass, keep your wits about you.
Yes. Yeah. Feigned retreat and narrow pass. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-for-1, and this guy fell for it. And
oh dear.
Yeah, and he's getting beat up pretty good. Ming Yiswa's getting beat up.
This is like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Yeah,
kind of. Kind of. Yeah,
a little bit. And so he's getting beat up pretty good, and it looks like kind of this is maybe going to be another defeat where they retreat. Like there were 5 invasions of of Thailand by Myanmar, but these weren't crushing defeats for Myanmar. They still had their army. They withdrew. They were tactically outmaneuvered. They were defeated in a battle. They decided it wasn't worth it. Too many people got sick. They had logistical problems, whatever. For whatever reasons, they kept attacking. Naresuan kept defending. These guys kept having to retreat. This looks like, all right, this isn't going to go well. But this actually seems like it's going to go really not well. So Ming Yishua's got to do something here. And he rallies his guys. And he's actually pretty good at this. He gets his guys together and he organizes the attack. He rallies his guys and he starts pushing through. He's got way more people than the Thai army has. And the Thai army is also getting worn down by these defenses, right? They're losing people. And it's becoming very clear that this is going to be the battle. This is going to be it, right? We're going to have to decide this here. And Naresuan sees the battle starting to turn against him. Ming Yishua, instead of retreating, he doubles down and is going to push the attack harder and think like, okay, well, this might be everybody that Thailand's got. We got to get them. We got to push all the way through. I'm going to lose a bunch of guys, but I think I can get them here. And if I can defeat them here, then I don't think they have anything else. And Naresuan doesn't have anything else, and he's got to win this battle. And when they call, I'm not even going to say call his bluff, but when they're willing to sacrifice, when Ming Yishua is willing to sacrifice way more of his own guys than Prince Naresuan was expecting, he realizes he's got to do something.
Yeah.
So he's riding, of course, on the back of a giant elephant. The elephant is named Chaupraya Chayanafap.
Chaupraya Chayanafap.
Chaupraya Chayanafap. And
awesome. Okay.
And
I just feel like I want to give some respect to the elephant, you know?
Yes. That you just wait, because it's gonna get
okay.
So Prince Naresuan and Chaupraya Chayanafap, also with Prince Naresuan is his brother Ikatatsarat, who's also riding on an elephant. They decide Ming Yishua is gonna rally his guys, we're going to rally our guys. So they get their glaives, which is like a big spear with a sword on the end of it, right?
Okay, yeah. I feel like that's a word that Lewis Carroll made up in Jabberwocky or something, but it's a real thing, right?
A glaive is a real thing. It's a
real thing.
Yeah, it's a French invention. It's a French weapon. Like the French called it a glaive, but it's like a long blade, like a sword blade on a spear haft. The Japanese called it a naginata. The Thai have a different word for it. I'm going to call it a glaive because that's what you called it in Dungeons and Dragons, and that's what I think people will be able to picture better.
Yeah. Is it in the same neighborhood as a halberd? Or
Yes. Yeah. It's a polearm. It's long. Like really, like you couldn't, if the guy was standing right next to you, kind of like the spears of Alexander, right? The phalanxes of Alexander.
Okay, yeah.
It's you just need a little bit more reach than the other guy. But if they can close that distance, you're going to have trouble. If you ran up to a guy with a sword who had one of these things, you'd win. But you're not going to, because this guy's sitting on an elephant. And if you try to get that close to him, you're going to get kicked by that elephant and you're going to die.
Yeah, because the elephant creates distance and also kicking.
Yes, and stomping and all of those things. Tusks.
Yes.
Yelling.
Yes.
Flapping of ears. So Naresuan, his younger brother, they're avenging their people, they're avenging their dead grandfather, they're avenging their sister, they're avenging everything, right? And they are charging through battle, they're fighting for the independence of their people, and they see through the haze of battle, they see Ming Yishua, Crown Prince of Burma, mounted on his elephant with his guys that are also mounted on elephants. And there's no doubt in anyone's mind what has to happen next. 2 crown princes, 2 pachyderms, an entire country's independence on the line. It's elephant duel time.
Fight!
The 2 elephants charge each other. They smash against each other. There's a huge crash of pachyderm meat and tusks, and the warriors climb out. They're fighting. They're sitting on the back of the elephant. They're fighting with their glaives. They stand up. They stand on the necks and the heads of the elephants, and to get better reach, they're swinging their weapons around. They are battling with their glaives. They're fighting. They're weaving. They're running up and down the creatures, and everything's kind of swirling around them. All around them, the battle stops. All of these Thai and Myanmar warriors are fighting, and they see this happening, and they're just struck by awe. It's what you were talking about. It's a shock and awe. Your king is fighting their king. cage match on elephants, backflips. I imagine I might be editorializing that a little bit, but big battle. Both armies stop to watch what's happening. And Naresuan is better, but Mingiswa is not. He's not we've been kind of portraying him as kind of a little bit of a goofball, but he's not. He's a serious warrior, and he gets a drop on Naresuan, and he hits him in the helmet with the glaive, and it cracks King Naresuan's helmet.
Ooh.
But it doesn't kill him. He gets more angry, and he swings his glaive down on the enemy's collarbone, and there's a pause. Both guys standing motionless. I'm picturing a Kurosawa samurai movie after like the sword draw, and then the Burmese king kind of falls apart like Darth Maul, and blood
falls
fountain,
apart like. Wait a minute. Falls apart like
cut in half.
His body falls into two.
Yes, slides into two.
Is cleft.
Blood fountain. War over.
Is rent asunder.
That's how it ends. The leader of the Burmese army is dead. There's a blood explosion. War over. Thailand free forever. The Thai army cheers. The Burmese flee. That's the movie version of the elephant duel.
Yeah.
It's hard to top something like that, but King Naresuan the Great would go on to conquer Cambodia. He reunites the cities of Thailand. He even goes so far as to invade Burma after Mingiswa's father dies. There's a succession battle because the heir is dead. And Prince Naresuan uses that opportunity to steal some formerly Thai territory back from Burma by invading their country for once. He is this great conqueror. He wins a lot of territory. He dies at the age of 50 of either sepsis or possibly a second bout of smallpox. We're not really sure.
But it was a life well lived.
Yes. Dies at age 50.
Got a lot out of it.
Yeah. He's succeeded by his brother, Ikatatsurat, the White Prince, who basically, now that the wars have been won, the borders have been secured, the Thai army is now the strongest army in the region. He is able to have this period of peace and prosperity. There's a kingdom that will last for a couple hundred years. Thailand remains independent. And to this day, Naresuan is the national hero of Thailand. And every January 18th, they celebrate their national holiday, a celebration known as Elephant Duel Day in his honor.
And I suppose, listeners, if you have intel on different dates in January or any other month of the year, please let us know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen a couple different things on this.
And this story is taken very, very, very seriously by Thailand. In 2014, Professor Suvak Sivaraksha was actually arrested for questioning the historicity of the duel. Now, that's kind of what historians do for a living. Like, it's like, don't take it personally. Like, that's just what historians do.
Yeah, I just got to get I just got to post it. I just got to get published here every once in a while.
Well, get published. But also, like, it's like, okay, like, is this a badass story that we have historical sources for? Or is it a badass story that's like in the realm of legend? I think it's still badass, whatever it is. But it turned out okay for him, but
he got released. He's not still in prison.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So I mean, in his defense too, there is no mention of an elephant duel in the Burmese version of this story, because there is two sides to every story, and the Burmese did write about this battle. At least 2 sides. Maybe there are 10 sides. Maybe there are 10 directions for every story. I love that. Yes, there are 10. So according to Myanmar history, they agree that the battle was a defeat for Myanmar, and that Mingiswa was killed in the battle, but they say he was killed by a mortar. Oh. Which maybe Naresuan's glaive just hit like a high explosive shell and blew him up like a mortar. People were like, well, so that could have been just a guy.
Metaphorical. Figurative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, but that's the story, and that is the official story, and we're sticking to it.
Yeah.
Prince Naresuan is on Thai money. He appears on the bot. He has buildings and universities named after him. There's statues of him all over the place, including ones of him and Mingi Swat doing the elephant duel, which is amazing.
Ooh,
it's a really cool sculpture.
Yeah. And there's also a statue of him pouring water.
There's a statue of him pouring water. He's sitting down in a chair pouring water, and there's one of him standing on the head of an elephant swinging a glaive wearing armor. He was a well-rounded ruler. The Royal Armed Forces of Thailand actually reenact this battle every once in a while. They'll do, elephant duel reenactments during Elephant Duel Day. I think I said Tony Jaa played him did an elephant duel in a movie that was very similar. The most expensive movie ever made in Thailand is a 6-part movie series that's super popular. It was written by a prince of Thailand, and it stars Wanchada Sawadni, who was a captain in the Thai army who had never done any acting before, but now he's appeared in 6 movies in Thailand as Prince Naresuan.
Okay, good for him.
It's one of these big budget, high special effects productions. And these movies started coming out in 2007. They ran until 2015. It's the most expensive movie ever made in Thailand. It cost like 700 million baht. I
hope the elephants get paid well.
I don't know.
I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Maybe they CG them. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway.
It cost $20 million US to create this movie. It's basically like the Fast and Furious of Thailand. It's like the big budget action movie that was coming out every year for a while. And none of that is as weird as the fact that in 2006, they did a cartoon called Khan Kluai about the elephant that Prince Naresuan rode into battle.
Okay.
It is a cartoon for children about a little orphan elephant who gets taken in by the king and ends up winning Thai independence through bloodshed.
It's a heartwarming story.
Yeah. Chaupraya Chayanofap. But the movie is called Khan Kluai. There's a sequel about the children of this elephant. The English version, it's called The Blue Elephant, and the English dub includes like Martin Short and Miranda Cosgrove, who was iCarly. So,
hey, stellar cast.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
The poster looks cute.
Okay, sure. So we've got the intersection of cute and badass.
Yes.
Because elephant.
Right. Yeah, we started with elephant duels and we ended with iCarly.
Mm-hmm. But also presumably elephant duel, maybe?
Yeah, probably both.
Elephant duel. That's what we're leaving you with. Elephant duel, because that's badass.
We went 10 directions of badass.
We did.
All right. Well, that is our show for today.
We should write a personal development book or something, like, 10 directions of badass.
Yeah, it'd be like the Legend of 5 Rings.
Something like that. Yeah.
We're the Musashis for the podcasting badass world. Yeah. For the very small niche market that we cater to.
Hey.
Well, that sounds awesome to me.
Yes.
And that is our show for today. We want to thank you guys for listening so much. Please do like and subscribe and do all that stuff, because we do appreciate it and it does help the show out a lot. So please do that, because we will be happy every time that happens. We're happy. So anyway, Thank you so much.
Listening is badass. Subscribing is badass. Telling your friends is badass.
Yes.
Telling your elephant is badass. Get your elephant to listen to the podcast.
If your elephant subscribes to the podcast and listens to it, it still counts as a listen for our metrics. So that's totally fine. Yeah, I would love that if you just put this podcast on a repeat loop in your elephant pen so your elephants can listen to it and get stronger.
Yes. In all 10 directions.
Yeah, in all 10 directions. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Stay badass.
Badass of the Week is an iHeartRadio podcast produced by High Five Content. Executive producers are Andrew Jacobs, me, Pat Larish, and my co-host, Ben Thompson. Writing is by me and Ben. Story editing is by Ian Jacobs, Brandon Phibbs. Mixing and music and sound design is by Jude Brewer. Special thanks to Noel Brown at iHeart. Badass of the Week is based on the website badassoftheweek.com, where you can read all sorts of stories about other badasses. If you want to reach out with questions, ideas, you can email us at badasspodcast@badassoftheweek.com. If you like the podcast, subscribe, follow, listen, and tell your friends and your enemies if you want, as we'll be back next week with another one. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.